Meta's free speech policy changes. Replacing third-party fact-check programs. So in other words, fact-checkers are gone. Can we get a round of applause in the chat for fact-checkers being gone? The liberal losers and all their monies, they're out of a job because they are gone. Meta is going to go to a community notes model instead, and they're not going to ding you or kick you off if you get community noted, much like X does. They're lifting restrictions on certain topics. That means political topics. That means topics about LGBTQ, vaccines, abortions, all of the things like that. What was deemed, quote, controversial topics are now gone. Their automated systems will now focus on illegal / high severity violations. So all their AI that would literally, their AI's focus was to go after community standards violations. And he's going to talk about it in his video, but their community standards violations thing was like 38,000 pages long. And here's the big thing. They're removing the reduction or the demotion of political content. So those of you on Facebook that hasn't seen me and Chad in a long time, it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But let's listen to some of the stuff that Mark Zuckerberg has to say here. And again, here's the question I want you guys to answer in the chat while we play this. I don't need you to like Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not saying that we should forget about what they did. But what I am saying is if Facebook, because here's the reality. Facebook is still the largest social media platform. It just is.
Billion.
It's 2 billion. It had 2 billion users on Facebook. If Facebook and Instagram open back up, imagine what that does for the public square. Imagine what that does for future elections for Republicans. Imagine the good that can do. Let's hear what Mark Zuckerberg has to say. If you agree with that free speech is a good thing, comment yes or no in the chat. Let's play it.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
There it is.
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Texas!
As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more.
All right,
the
pause.
U.S.
There you
has
go.
the
That's the
strongest
last
constitutional
point.
protection.
So again, I get it. I see a lot of people that are like,
At this point, I still trust Tom from MySpace.
in the things. But again, here's what I say. Even if this is totally because we won, like we did, which it is, let's be honest, okay? That's still a win,
It's
ladies
a win.
and gentlemen. It's
Trust
a
but
huge,
verify. Trust
it's
but
a
verify.
huge win. And even if they just open up 25% for the people like us that have gigantic pages on Facebook and Instagram, it allows for a larger amount of people to be able to see and hear the truth. That is a win. If X and Rumble and the American people were able to right the wrong that was the mass censorship on all of these platforms, that's a huge win. And so I don't understand. I understand people being, weary about this. But here's what I can tell you. Never in the 10 years that I've been doing this has Meta ever called to talk to me personally. Hey, we made a lot of mistakes. We're going to try to do things better. We think that this is going to be better for everyone involved. Very much like Elon did when he bought Twitter. Mm-hmm. He did the same thing. So you can sit there and be mad all you want. But the more free speech we have on more platforms, the better it is for our country and potentially our world. Because the more people that get to hear the truth daily, that is better. We talk about it all the time. There's, if we go, can we go to where it shows us the people watching on each platform really quick? Can we go to that view? Look, here's the thing. Right now, there's only 200 something people watching on Facebook because those restrictions are still in place. Now imagine that Facebook starts to look more like X or looks more like the Rumble numbers and things. That just adds to more people being able to hear the truth. Mm-hmm. Now, to Todd's point, none of these changes have taken effect yet. And it is. It's going to take some time for it to be fixed. Very much like on X, it wasn't day one that everything started to get better. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is freedom of speech in the public space, whether you agree or like it, the platform owner or whatnot, it is a good thing for us here. And so, yes, I am considering this a major win for free speech, and I truly believe that everybody should feel the same way.
Graham, you and I have been through this battle for the last 8 years with Facebook, then Meta. We have hung in there in the trenches, fought hard to try to get Zuckerberg to at least tap out or show some weakness. So the fact that we found a chink in the armor here is a win. I don't want anybody to start liking Zuckerberg. He's not a hero. I've said over and over again, do not trust anybody, particularly the billionaire class, who inserts themselves in the conversation because usually it's for their own benefit. That includes Elon Musk. But I want to break this thing down on the Chad Prather show today, and I'm not gonna go easy on Zuckerberg at all, and I will never go easy on Zuckerberg. The guy probably deserves to be in prison for what he did in the 2020 election. But it is a win, Graham. You're right. It is a win because whatever happens, if it gives us the opportunity to utilize all the platforms with a little more, at least leniency, even if it's not full-blown free speech, with a little more leniency, we've got an opportunity here to strike back in a big way.
Yeah, people always ask me and Chad, like, well, why don't you do the rants anymore? Why don't you do the Facebook post videos anymore for Chad?
Yeah.
Well, because we couldn't. Because one, you wouldn't see it, and two, we get fact-checked.
You're not gonna see
and
them.
they'd fact-check us, and they'd delete our accounts. Hey, that's a good question for the chat. If this actually happens and they open it up, should me and Chad bring back the daily rants and the Facebook videos? Comment yes or no in the chat. If you want to see
Graham
those
and I
things.
used to sit in the truck, and I mean, people, Graham and I were pioneers in regards to that. Everybody started sitting in the truck after me and Graham started sitting in the truck, and people were like, why are you sitting in the truck when you do not own a home? It was a novel thing. We had that we could control our environment, control the sound. People would leave us alone. They thought we were crazy talking to ourselves in the truck. We could say something, didn't matter what. 10 to 30 million people, 100 million people were going to watch it. Now you're doing good if 100,000 people see it, and people I see them all the time. They're like, why don't you do that anymore? I miss that. Because you can't see it if I do it. And so the fact that now we have the opportunity, all of us, to expand a platform and reach each other. Let me put it to you this way. If you subscribe to, let's say, Amazon Prime, and they only gave you 15% of the programming, you'd be pissed off that you paid your subscription and you're not getting access to 100% of the programming. Well, when you say you support somebody or follow somebody or want to hear from somebody on a platform like Meta, and I know there's all these people out there who say, well, we need to be on Truth Social. We need to do. Okay, well, listen, those other new platforms out there, regardless who owns them or who drives them, they're not putting $8 billion a year into their platform like a Meta is, okay? So if you guys went back to 2007 Facebook, you wouldn't like that either. You've forgotten how much it's evolved and changed. So the fact that you can call it whatever you want to call it. Call it a win, call it a dodge, call it an excursion, call it an end around, call it whatever. We're going to use it. And listen, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to abuse Mark Zuckerberg today at 2:00. But at the end of the day, whatever gets that message out, I mean, do you think if the disciples of Jesus in the first century had opportunity to proclaim the gospel without having to walk to India, without having to take a camel to Rome, that they would say, you know what, this is a great opportunity. We're going to use it for the kingdom of God. Like, this is a platform we've got. We're removing the restrictions. If they're truly going to do that, guys, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. What it was intended for evil can be used for good.
Well, yeah, again, and I see a lot of people's opinion. Let's just wait and see. That's the thing. Like, people that live on Rumble, you're not going to go back to Facebook. Got it. But what I can promise you right now is there are millions of people still on Facebook that haven't seen conservative voices in years.
Yeah.
That's
That
right.
will begin
Years.
to start
And I
seeing
think
them
that's the
again.
point.
People
I think
you
that's
forgot
the
they
point,
exist.
because
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of any of this when Graham and Chad are getting started, and I see a lot of you guys in the comment section just pissed off, calling it the FUCK book, and I'm not going back. And one jackass a minute ago said, I guess money talks. That's sad. All right, let me break it down for you, Slick. All right, if we have the opportunity, because look, the message that we're trying to get to people, we're trying to get that message to as many people as we possibly can. And if I have the choice to go 100,000 people and kind of, I wouldn't say bend the knee, but 100,000 people versus 1,000 people, guess what? I want 100,000 people to hear our message, because those 100,000 could go reach 100 people apiece, and then we spread this thing like wildfire. So, back
is
to the
great.
fun.
And let me say, too, Graham, before you jump into that, I heard all you people give the same comments whenever Elon took over X. I heard you
Yeah.
give the same comments, and look what
Exactly.
happened.
Oh, that's
Donald Trump, this is a podcast presidency. It's a podcast presidency. This was not a mainstream or legacy media presidency. Podcast got Donald Trump back in office because we took the place as independent voices away from the mainstream media. We took their voices away. Guys, if we can get an opportunity to do this, every platform out there at some point in time. And again, I believe I'm waiting and seeing, and I'll tell you at 2:00 today on the Chad Prather Show, all the things that were stolen from me over the last 8 years. And we'll walk through this thing because I'm not forgiving at this point in time, but I will use the platform if they do what they say.
Correct. Go ahead, Brian.
Trust but verify. That's
Back
all I'm
before 2016, I think Trump won that election.
Trump was elected because of Facebook
exactly
and Instagram.
He
That's why
won.
they
He won
censored
that
it.
election because of social media, and so we got 4 years of Donald Trump as president and extreme censorship. After that, they shut it down. These guys know more than anybody. They shut it down after that because they knew that he won because of social media, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff, the censorship. He won because of that. They shut it down. I'm excited because we're about to get another 4 years of Trump and the floodgates opened. It's going to be a completely different realm
Trump's
in terms of
not
social
even,
media.
and everybody should be positive about this. Trump's not even in office yet. And look at all of the things that are swinging the other way.
Dominoes.
Into the money talks, and that sad comment person, it's amazing to me how many people think that we should just live in poverty and do this crap for free. It's amazing. Like, I guess money talks when you go to your job and take a paycheck. Like, I guess that's money talking.
Everybody works for free. Go
Yeah,
into HR, go into
everyone
HR
should work
today
for
and
free.
say,
It's so
you know
crazy
what?
to me.
Send my paycheck to charity.
I believe in my job so much. Don't pay me anymore. Like it's amazing.
I
It's
just
amazing.
love being here.